We're not talking about draining the swamp. We're going to escape from the swamp. Next on Crown Jewels. Greetings and salutations, my friends. My name is PLD, and you are listening to Crown Jewels on the PLD Projects Network or the sister YouTube channel. I'm your host, and I'm taking you on this journey through the entirety of the Queen catalog, song by song. We're going to listen to every version of every song, and we're going to listen and see which is the titular crown jewel or best version of the song to slide into our ultimate playlist. I'll give you some notes and quotes if I have them, and we decide whether or not it's going to slide into the top 10 Queen-related tracks of all time. I'd like to get your input on that as well. I mean, I'm going to tell you mine. You can let me know yours. This week, we are continuing blasting through the Flash Gordon soundtrack as we have been. Again, for a little while, it's going to be a lot of quick bits, little quick hits, because these are short songs and there's not many alternate versions of them. As I mentioned last week for the first time, I kind of did skip out on a couple of film versions of the songs because all these versions are in the film Flash Gordon. However, there's not really much difference to them. There's some additional dialogue that's meant in that they get kind of cut down for the album version. So it's not really worth making an actual extra version out of it. It doesn't really change anything what we're listening to. Unlike some of the demos we have heard before and some of the live versions we have heard. This week, though, we have neither. Escape from the Swamp. Last week it was a John Deacon solo track. This week it's a Roger Taylor solo track. Roger wrote the track, he plays timpani, and plays the synthesizer. So without further ado, we should be listening to this, then come back and I will talk about it. How we do that? Well, you look in the show notes below, you'll see a Google Doc. You click on that Google Doc, it'll take you to a doc which has a link to a YouTube version on it. And when you click on that link, you can listen to the track, and then you can come back, unpause me, and hear what I have to say about it. So go ahead, do it now. I'll be waiting here when you get back. And there you have it. That is the Roger Taylor solo song after the John Deacon solo song. This one, Escape from the Swamp. Well, the titles of the tracks on this album are not the most imaginative. They are pretty much descriptive of what's going on in the film. Flash is on the Arborea, the planet of the Treemen. He was put into a cage by Prince Baron. The cage was lowered into the swamp, and Flash must escape from it. And I will say, interestingly enough, that while we are only listening to the one version, part of me thinks we could actually listen to Queen Rock Montreal and Roger's drum solo, or shall I say timpani solo. It does seem he was in love with playing the timpani at this time, was playing around with it on many different levels. He used it for his solo in that concert and that tour, but he also used it for this track. It's basically a timpani track. It's all production that way for the percussion. There is a synthesizer bed that gets added on, and it does build, adding more and more sounds. There is a pulsating synth that goes all over the sonic landscape, actually using that sonic landscape that Queen does so well, bouncing back and forth, panning from right to left, over to the middle, using both sides, using the middle channel as well. It does add some more noises towards the end, and then all of a sudden, just suddenly it ends with this big pulsating synth that kind of very sci-fi flat, very 80s sci-fi, cheesy sci-fi soundtrack part for sure. But there's this nice, interesting, quick rising vocalization right before the line of dialogue, which is from the next scene, really, basically when the slave is going to be preparing Dale Arden for her marriage to Ming the Merciless. But there's this nice, quick rising, kind of synth-ish vocalization. I think it's a synth. It does sound a little like Raj, though, to be honest with you, because Raj can sound female at times with some of his backing vocals when he uses his very airy, higher register. But it's a quick bit, but it's one of my favorite little bits of the track itself. So, and that's it, guys. This is the only one, so this is the titular crown jewel version of the track. Now I get to rate this on a scale of 1 to 11 because we always turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects. I have noted that for a lot of the Flash Gordon tracks, I'm kind of giving them 6.5s, not because they're bad, but because they're hard to rate as tracks. They're really incidental music or they're just background music, and it's hard to rate that and say it's a bad song. It's not something I'm going to choose to listen to all the time unless I'm listening to the soundtrack or I'm watching the film. But I also don't want to penalize it either because it's doing its job. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's kind of hard to rate it, so I've been giving a lot of 6.5s out there. This one I'll bump up to a 7 because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I do like that vocalization. I do like the pulsating synth going all over the landscape there. I think it's kind of imaginative. I like Roger exploring percussion that he hadn't really dove deep into. So all that being said, I can give that at least a bump up to a 7. Not going to hit my top 10 Queen-related tracks of all time, as those are all at 10.5 and 11 at this point. But at the end of the day, anything higher than 6.5 is pretty solid at this point. So, all right, that is going to do it for us this week again, folks. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Join the Patreon at patreon.com/PLDprojects, where you can get these tracks, these episodes early. I got early releases, usually about a week or two early, as it were, or at least the Monday before the Friday it comes out, because I record these so much earlier than I do the rest of my podcasts. But if you can't, I get it. I totally understand this troubled times. But like I said, you can help us fight the algorithm in other ways. But that'll do it for us this week, folks. And next week, we go to a more rocking track, Flash to the Rescue, and the band is full on back then for this one, and this one's going to be a lot of fun. It's a derivative of the main theme at times, but that's part of what this album does best, is keeps returning to that rockin' theme. All right, guys, I will see you next week. Take care, and I hope you can escape from yours.